And yeah, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. Okay. We're losing men that we shouldn't be losing. Because men are struggling and have been for some time. We know that the leading cause of death for men under the age of 45 in the UK is death by suicide. 3/4 of deaths by suicide are men, and the two words that they most commonly use on the notes they leave behind are useless and worthless. We live in an age where 14-year-old boys and 28-year-old dads-to-be are told they're toxic or that they are a problem simply because of their gender. It's no surprise they're flocking to incredibly extreme and unpleasant far-right views of masculinity that offers at least some pride in their identity. But these numbers and stories are not just statistics, rows in a spreadsheet or points on a graph. These are real people. Real men, amazing men who have so much left to give. Men who leave behind wives, partners, daughters and sons, nieces and nephews, friends. And my dad was very nearly one of them. I remember it like it was yesterday, in my final year of uni, sat in my bedroom with those classic blue boys' bed sheets, a slight musty smell lingering in the air that I couldn't get rid of, and towels from previous travel destinations hanging on my wall because I thought it was cool. It's no surprise I didn't have a girlfriend at the time. It was late at night and my phone rang. It was Mum. I thought it was strange and my stomach just dropped. I'd seen Dad a few weeks earlier and I knew he was struggling inside his head, but dads are invincible. I thought he'd be back to himself in no time. He's not very well, Dan. They've taken him into hospital. I thought maybe he'd broken something, an arm or a leg, but no. He's been sectioned, Dan. They've taken him in for his own safety. I don't know what's going to happen next. I put the phone down and the tears just came. My housemate came rushing into my room. I had so many questions with so few answers. What does it mean to be sectioned? When will he get better? Will he get better? Where is he going? I forgot my next line. It's coming. It's coming. And in a time like this, it's like a never-ending game of countdown. There's no certainty. There's no magic action that anyone can take. There was only hope. The hope that Dad would pull through. A few months passed and I still hadn't seen Dad. It was the height of COVID, so we couldn't. I eventually managed to speak to him on the phone, but it didn't feel like I was speaking to my dad. The weakness in his voice, the confusion, the intense depression that was seeping throughout his brain. Where was my dad and what had you done with him? I went back to the seminar room I was studying with a friend and he said, "Are you okay?" That's when the tears just flowed and flowed and flowed. It was taking its toll on my mum too, the constant uncertainty, the endless phone calls to the hospital, the feeling of missing someone that's been by your side for 25 years. I was helpless. My mum was helpless. My sister was helpless. The whole family was helpless. There was nothing that we could do apart from just keep the hope that Dad would get better. The updates from the doctors came and went. We tried this medication, but it hasn't worked. But we're going to try this one, and we'll combine it with this one. It hasn't worked either. We're at the maximum dose now, so we're not sure what we can do next. All I could think about was Dad sat alone in his hospital room, confused, only able to do the most basic of children's colouring books, unable to escape from the dark hole that he found himself in. It was only recently I found out about the attempts Dad had to take his own life. Looking back, he wonders why he was allowed to roam the streets of Gloucester, and I wonder why anybody would want to roam the streets of Gloucester. No offence if you do live in Gloucester. I also grew up near Swindon, so I talk. But there's one last thing the doctors can try. Something called ECT, electroconvulsive therapy. A process where currents are sent through the brains to essentially induce a brain seizure, like jump-starting a car. Please work. Please work. It was like flicking a switch in Dad's brain. 2 or 3 weeks later, I went for a walk with Dad near the hospital, and he was still very weak. He was still hunched over. He was still so grey in his face. But there were signs of Dad's coming back. There were small sparks that Dad was still in there and Dad was fighting. It's now been 4.5 years since Dad came home. He still has his struggles day to day or week on week. I mean, who doesn't, right? But he left his job. He's now a full-time handyman. And in October, he went to India to deliver mindset coaching to school children out there. Things that I never thought Dad would do again. Things that he never thought he'd do again either. And recently my inquisition got the better of me, and I said to Dad, I said, why do you think you became severely depressed? He listed off a few things that were of no surprise, like a lack of exercise or not reaching out for help soon enough. But there were 2 themes that really kind of struck home. The first one was purpose, or a distinct lack of it in Dad's case. Thoughts of, why am I here? The second one was connection. Again, a lack of connection in his life. And it got me thinking, because for a long time men have been told to open up or to talk more. But I don't think they've ever been told why. They've been told that it doesn't make them look weak, or that it doesn't make them any less masculine. And to be honest, I don't think they're great selling points. I don't think they've ever been told these core 3 reasons why connecting in this way is so important. Something that I think could have prevented Dad from going into the dark hole that he found himself in. The first reason why I think we should connect more is because if you share something that you're struggling with, you can make yourself feel better within the space of 60 seconds, and more importantly, you can make somebody else feel better too, because you can make them feel less alone. You can make them feel connected. I started sharing videos on Instagram about 6 months ago, and when they resonate with an audience, I get message after message after message from amazing guys saying, I thought I was the only one. And in reality, when you're struggling with something, there are thousands, if not millions, of people going through the same thing as you. So if you decide to share something, you can make yourself feel less alone, but you can also make somebody else feel less alone, which, when I do that, gives me a lot of purpose. So give it a go. The second reason why connection is so important is that it's literally like a refined Google search. My mate Tom and I, who's in the audience, tonight started a men's community about 4 weeks ago called Shoulder to Shoulder. It's grown to about 100 members in a WhatsApp community, and guys messaging there saying they're struggling with things and asking for advice. We then get men who've never met each other sharing amazing, empathetic, intelligent advice because they've been through the same thing, and they're all rallying around someone they've never even met. So this person who shares something has got an answer, or at least next steps to take for something they're struggling with. And I don't think any Google search or ChatGPT can ever give you the same empathy that a human can. The third thing is that being vulnerable with others massively improves the quality of our relationships. Last year, my girlfriend, who's also in the audience, moved to Vancouver, and we obviously had to make new friends. she would come back from meeting up with, let's call her Daisy, and she would know that she had 4 cats, 3 ex-boyfriends, one of whom was unfaithful, that she hated her job and wanted to move to Toronto. I would come back and I'd know that Chris supported Chelsea. And Kai would say, "Is that what you talked about?" But there was one guy called Dan. He was not someone would normally hang out with. He was a big guy from Birmingham, thick Brummy accent, covered in tattoos. My stereotypes got the better of me, but he was. I know that, but it taught me a good lesson because inside he was one big softie. And there was one afternoon where we sat on the sofa together. We just cooked an English breakfast because we missed it. And over the course of 2 hours, I told him about Dad. He told me how he lost his best mate, who took his own life. And in that moment, I felt so connected to this guy that I'd only hung out with a few times. I've been back in London for 3 months, and we call each other every week. He is like the best mate I made on there simply because we were vulnerable with each other and we trusted each other. I had so many superficial conversations about snowboarding and football teams, but I didn't really make friends that way. So, if there's one thing that you take from this talk, I want you to make habit again. I got that wrong. I want you to make connection a habit. It can be something so small, like calling a mate at the same day, at the same time, every week, like my mate Dan. Friday, 3 o'clock, we're on the phone and we're chatting about absolute rubbish. It could be anything. But the space is there to talk about something more if it's needed. There's a whole new concept of Wednesday waffle, which I love, which is you take a 2-minute video of yourself just telling your mate about your week. It could be one-on-one or on a group chat. The idea is that it's then much easier to see when a mate is struggling because you've got a lot more days a week or week. Very simple. I just don't know. Maybe I have. So, let's make connection a habit. Because we're losing men that we shouldn't be losing. And by making connection a habit, you could save someone's life. Thank you very much. Apologies if I seem a bit nervous, that's the first time I've done an acting talk, so try to keep the hand steady. Tom and I started a men's community called Shoulder to Shoulder, so if you want to join it or you know someone who might benefit from it, we went for a walk on Hampstead Heath last weekend, we're going for another one on March 9th. Yeah, you can find my Instagram, the links in there, if you might benefit from that or know somebody that might. Yeah, that's it. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Dan. Really. Oh, I can't imagine it's like seeing Dan.